My Stirling single, part 61, getting it right. Modifying the brake shaft hangers so that they look better and hold the brake link arms level. Previously I made a pair of drop arms to fit to the brake shaft, and I made them too big. I think this must be genetic. My father was a keen woodworker and used to make things like bird tables that an elephant could land on. He always made things too big, and occasionally I do take after him. Over-engineering is far better than bodging, and this pair of hangers are definitely too big. They would be okay on a 7¼ inch gauge locomotive, but not on a 5-inch gauge one. When I originally made these hangers, I got the measurements wrong in so many ways. Well, 2 ways to be exact. The 2¼ inch diameter holes that I drilled were too far apart, and the pieces of drilled stainless steel that are Loctited in position were too short. I had to use 3 washers at each side, and that is unacceptable. While the hangers were still held to the locomotive, I held the brake rod in position and made a mark in the paint of one of them to see whether it was possible to get away with drilling another 1/4 inch diameter hole, coupled with the fact that the video is going to be shown running at a higher speed than normal should make this a quick job, far better than starting from the beginning. What I need to do is remove the paint from just one of the hangers, not the one that I've made the marks on. I'm using a blowtorch to remove the paint, and the bonus of this is it also destroys the bond of the Loctite, so it was easy to pull out the piece of stainless steel with the hole in it. The paint's more or less gone and the piece of stainless steel is loose, so before handling it I dipped it into a pot of water, then I removed the cylindrical part and cleaned up the rest on the belt sander. What I need to do now is tap the marked out piece into this one, and by tap I don't mean a screw thread tap, I mean a hammer. All I have to do now is drill through the top painted part and through the bottom bit at the same time. Over now to the drilling machine to do this, and first of all, the centre drill. I want this part to be very accurate. After centre drilling, I used a twist drill which is 1 imperial size less than a 1/4. I drilled through both of the pieces of metal and even down to the pieces of mahogany that was supporting the parts. There was a reason for this. Here in the drilling machine I'm using a hand reamer, but this is tapered, so I needed it to go all the way through the metal parts and down into the mahogany, so I didn't get a tapered hole. After drilling, I gave the other piece the same treatment with the blowtorch, and now I have 2 pieces of steel that are not painted. This is where I started to rush the job. I clamped the parts in the milling machine vise and started to machine away the bottom hole entirely. This was nearly a disaster. I didn't peg the other hole. Before finishing the job, I plugged the second hole in the middle. I know I should have done this in the first place, but I'm only human and I just forgot. In no time at all, every trace of the original hole had disappeared. And here I am in the outer part of the workshop, reshaping the parts. To be honest, this 1-inch belt sander is rubbish. It's very flimsy and the guides bend. I could do with a better one really. The reason why I haven't bought a higher quality 1-inch belt sander is because this one actually does do the job. You just have to be gentle with it. If you apply too much pressure to the belt, it ceases to be at right angles to the table. Once I'd finished shaping the 2 hangers, then I needed to make the 2 parts that support the brake rods at each side. Usual sequence, face across the front, centre drill, and then drill the hole using the size that you need the hole to be. In this case the hole needs to be 1/8 inch in diameter, which is clearance size for 5BA. This time I'm going to make these parts the correct length. I need to make 2 of these and they need to be 5/8 inch long. And now it's top tip time. Here's a good tip: during the parting off operation, remove the sharp edges at both ends. This is stainless steel and this is only a 1/8 inch diameter drill bit. With a twist drill of this size, it's really important not to apply too much pressure, but with stainless steel that work hardens very easily, it's really important to keep the drill bit going. When drilling stainless steel, if you allow the drill bit to rub, you have lost. Here are the finished parts after I Loctited the barrels in place. And now I have a kit of parts that should work this time. I replaced the two 6BA grub screws in the end of the drop arms. Don't forget, these brakes are not going to be functional. This is only to stop everything moving on the shaft. If I wanted to make this brake shaft work, I would have to drill all the way through the hangers and the brake shaft, drill a suitable hole, then use a taper reamer, after that fit a taper pin. But for what I want to do, the two 6BA Allen head grub screws will be fine. Before fitting the parts, I thought I would test the accuracy of them. They fit onto a piece of stainless steel bar, and the twist drill that I used to drill the holes goes all the way through, and when I dismantle them, they're not tight. Here I've assembled the parts on the brake shaft, and I'm tapping it into position using a piece of brass tube. Then I'm also using the piece of brass tube to tap the bolt into position that holds the brake rods. This is a very tight fit. It took me nearly an hour to fit the parts together. It was incredibly fiddly. I lost the will to live on several occasions. But it was worth it. Now all of the brake rods, even though the brakes don't work, are level and it looks really good. This time I didn't paint the brake hangers. I'm going to paint them in situ using a paintbrush. Just to make sure my eyes aren't deceiving me, I used a steel rule. And now all of the rear brake rods are exactly the same distance from the bench at both ends. I did not need to use any washers this time, and all of the assembly is very firm. I will probably use some nut lock on the pivots of the brake shoes to keep them off the wheels. But that's it for now. The job is done. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my Mainsteam Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists, you can actually watch the videos back to back.